All right. Hey, folks, we are going to continue working on the Spelljammer Eberron campaign that we've been building here on stream for the past month. Give me a second here to check my signal real quick, and I'll go through a quick intro spiel, and we'll get to work here for an hour or so. I'm on my lunch. I'm on my lunch development stream. I do this 3 days a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, like today. So mic check. Fridays, like today. So mic check. Fridays, like today. So mic. Yep, sounds good. All right, cool. So I'm gonna kick across the social medias real quick that I'm live for anyone to help jump in if they're interested. But while I'm setting that up, let me just say some words and stuff. Blah blah blah. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. I've been focusing attention on Dungeons and Dragons, Spelljammer. We've been making a supplement for the past year here using the 5e mechanics. We're calling it Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. You can see the book cover here. We've been making that for the past year. We're looking to have it published hopefully next week. And right now what we're doing is we are creating my home table. I DM weekly, and I typically get through a level 1 to 20 campaign in about 200 to 250 hours. And at the beginning of February, we concluded our most recent time travel campaign. So they wanted to switch gears and play into Spelljammer, but Eberron is where I call home for my own campaign settings. So we created an asteroid belt mining operation where dwarves, gnomes, and warforged work together to extract ore from different rocks that are orbiting the planet, and for fame, fortune, and adventure. So let's see here. I've just finished posting everywhere. So if you're on Twitter, X, I'm here as well at Phil Kearney. You can follow me there if you want to get notifications of when I go live. Big shout out to the Spelljammer Preservation subreddit. A fantastic channel, always great conversations, people posting neat stuff, asking me cool questions. It's a great place to hang out. Check it out. And if you want to get more stuff that I do in general, you can like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications. We've picked up new subscribers since yesterday, so thank you very much for your interest. Here is a full playlist for the 300 some odd episodes of me building the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document that you see here. And I just updated my Patreon. The About page has a link to my Discord channel. And while you're there, you can, if you want to, chip $1 or 10 per month, then thanks for helping support more behavior like this. So let's see. If that's a clumsy enough ado, let's get started. So this is a Google Doc. I'll make it available to the general public as a read-only once we get up and running. We've been building out the campaign. It's a lunchtime game that I run with coworkers at my job. It's an inclusive atmosphere, but there's only 1 hour and we have 6 players. So I can't run D&D combat, which is traditionally, because with 6 people, a single fight would take the entire hour, and that's not necessarily very fun. I want a faster, looser mechanic to be able to move through content quicker and to have more creative openness in the game space instead of less rules to lock people down. So the entire thing that we've been building here, and this is episode 12, so you can check out the other episodes before this when we started building the campaign. But everything is built around group checks and ability checks. And so we're using Adam Hancock's. Adam Hancock is the editor for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we'll be publishing on DMsGuild next week. And he had developed a thing called Balderon's Guide to Kingdom Building, which converted communities into character sheets where they had 6 ability scores that were essentially also ability checks to be able to accomplish different things like scouting surrounding regions, creating enough food to help grow the population, luring new merchants into your community to expand your commerce base. So there's 6 different industries, but for this campaign, I only really need 4 of them, which is commerce, lore, loyalty, and military. And we have active and passive skills. The way that the system works, it's modified from what Adam had built. But basically, the way that it works is that you have your guild has resources that are invested to increase your rank in any particular industry. And everything, we start with a second rank in commerce, and then lore, loyalty, and military are all first rank. As you gain resources, you can spend them to increase your rank. So the amount of resources that you have to spend to gain a rank is 1. You start with a default of 1 in each, and then you have to spend a total of 4 in an industry to gain a second rank. And this ends up being 20, that's 30, 41, 50. It ends up being 55 total resources that you invest to go from first rank to 5th rank. And so what we're using, the primary use for resources is to buy a plot of space that you can mine asteroids in. And this is just a rough map that we had built. But each square is 10,000 miles. And as you move further and further away from Eberron's orbit, you have to spend more and more resources to be able to acquire that plot. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes along with it. There's a mining operation that's stationed in each territory. There's also a patrol of fighter ships that defend the mining operation from pirates and monsters and other whatevers. So as it gets further and further away from Eberron, it's more and more expensive to be able to maintain that supply chain uninterrupted from one location to another. When they get a high enough rank, they'll be able to build a station, a way station that would then allow them to continue pushing out into out of orbit into the far realm. We've got near space, far realm, and then you've got the actual orbit of Eberron. Eberron is an 8,000 mile planet. It occupies the central square of space, and then surrounding it is what we're calling hub, which is an artificial ring. This is like a science fantasy kind of, I guess, Starfinder sort of aesthetic, where there's magic and tech blended together, kind of like in a Ravnica ultra punk sort of evolution, away like further advanced than what the normal Eberron steampunk campaign is. Like the airships eventually evolve into low speed Spelljammer ships, so that they can patrol, like a squadron of fighter craft can patrol a 10,000 mile square in a 10-day period of time. So the campaign updates every 10 days, or a 10-day. So 10 days equals a month. There's 12 months in a year, so there's effectively 36 10 days per year, and every 10-day is the duration of an adventure that the players are actually engaging with as players. But then all the guild activity is updated on a 10-day base as well. So if we're looking at acquisitions today, and so yeah, let's look at acquisitions today. What can we do with acquisitions? Acquisitions, it can what to do with acquisitions. Primary purpose of acquisitions is obtain new territories. It can also hire a new adventure team. Perform additional guild. So in a plot of territory, like territory, automatically we can automatically prospect, excavate, and scout. These are the 3 things that you automatically do in each of your territories every 10 days. The prospecting determines what is in the asteroid field. Excavating extracts whatever ore wealth you're able to from those asteroids. And then scouting is identify any threats within the asteroid field. when you're prospecting, so scouting equals find threats in your territories. Excavating is, and it's not excavate, it's extracting. Extracting equals, what is it? Gain ore to convert to resources. And prospecting is identify types of ore and threats in asteroids. So those are the three things that happen in a territory each 10 day. And the more territories they have, the more dice they're going to roll. And depending on how far away from orbit each territory is, increases the difficulty of thoroughly completing a task. The way that it works is it is pass fail, but there's also degrees of passing and failing. So when you are prospecting, you're going to roll a die, and depending on how high of a result you get on your ability check is going to determine how deeply you're able to analyze or gather information within each territory. So the team is going to start with three areas, and let me go ahead and rebuild that real quick here. So the team is just beginning the campaign as effectively first level characters, and 1, 1, 2. These are the three territories that they currently possess. They can use resources. They can spend 1 point of resources. So they have second rank in commerce, which means they can at best extract 2 points of resources from each territory every 10 days to then reinvest into whatever pursuits that they have. And obviously, if they want to continue purchasing territories, they'd have to spend a point here, which they can, a point here, 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 a point here. This is claimed territory for the Dargoon Shogunates. Aranel is the Elven nation, which has a. These are all geo-positioned territories that stay geo-locked to the planet, but the asteroids continue to rotate around the planet. So asteroids drift in and then out of your territories, and the longer they're in your territory, the longer you can continue to mine that asteroid until you've depleted all of the ore that's inside of the asteroid. If the asteroid floats out of your territory, you could choose to continue to mine the asteroid, but you are not. If you're out of your territory, you're not defended unless you invest additional resources in setting up a patrol to guard that mining operation. And if you drift into an enemy territory while mining, you are technically poaching in their territory, and they can attack you and without any penalty. It's just, you shouldn't be there. You are trespassing. Your lives are forfeit being there. So, but in these no-man territories, anyone can. It's just it's the Wild West. Might makes right. So whatever you can hold on to is yours. Whatever you can push away, you've successfully repelled. So most of these territories are already claimed, but during the campaign, new plots will open up. These are all claimed already. This one is not. This is currently the only territory that's available for them to acquire. And you can't acquire, well, there's also this one and this one and this one. There are no diagonals, so everything is built linearly like this. and you can't acquire a territory unless it's adjacent to another area that you already have control over. And this whole hub space is a free square. So you could set up an operation over here because these are effectively connected through hub. So the team could choose to spend 1 point this season to acquire that territory. That territory is sandwiched real tight between Dargoon and Arenal. So neither one of them are willing to take this territory because neither one of them want to have each other on the border because elves and Dargoon just don't get along. So that's asking for conflict. So they've decided to create this neutral zone in between the two of them, and aspiring miners occasionally slide in there to try to extract wealth. But they may be dealing with Dargoon raiders, or they may have issues with elven defenders causing trouble in that area. So it's currently unoccupied, and most other seasoned mining operations just don't mess with it. But the team might be brazen enough, because they're characters, to attempt to take that on. But since these are all locked in by other organizations already, they don't have any area they can stake claims to until they're able to get their foot. Like if something were to collapse here, and then they won a contract through negotiations to lay claim to this territory, they would then be able to start building out of that region into this wider space. And but if they don't, this is basically where they're limited right now. But fortunately, no one else is actively investing into this territory. But each 10 day, there's a chance that another organization may decide to lay claim to adjacent territories and start competing with you for space. And if they can box you in, then you've ran out of moves, and you can't grow your territories anymore until you can negotiate purchasing a point, right? So the team is going to have to be aggressive about that. But as it stands right now, since they are second rank, they could potentially gain 2 resources from each territory that they hold. So it's possible, if the type of ore they're extracting isn't good enough, isn't a high enough value, then they can only extract one resource per territory. So there's a random element to it. And scrolling down here, here are the different types of ore that can be in the asteroids. And here is the value that they have. So you can't gain more resources from a territory than the type of ore that's in the territory during this 10 day, or the rank of your commerce operation. So commerce is the most important, because that's where you gather wealth. That kind of makes sense, right? So if you have silver and electrum in your territory, then you can gather. If you have iron and copper, and if it's all dead rock, just rock, meaning like all the ore has been extracted or it never had any, then it's not worth any resources at all. It's just wasted space. But if there are if you have iron and copper, even if you're a 5th rank organization, you can still only extract 1 resource per 10 day from that territory if it's occupied by iron or copper. As a 2nd rank mining operation, as long as they're mining silver, electrum, or a higher valued commodity, they can get 2 resources per territory that they control. But they don't have control over what type of ore is in the territory. As you go further and further along, as you go further and further away in orbit from the planet, the more likely you are to find higher value resource ore. And the closer to orbit you are, the lower the quality is going to be, because organizations that can go far out and get the really expensive resources for high gains, they're going to do that. And by the time it spirals through orbit a number of seasons, it's going to end up getting picked clean by everybody that gets their hands on it. And so by the time it spirals all the way down to the first order of orbit, it's going to mostly just be iron or even just dead rock. It's like this is our lowest priority. We're just gonna let that go by. So that's how you end up with crappy metal closer to hub and more exotic metals further out. So there's a limiter on how high of a quality stone that you can get. In first orbit, you're not going to be able to get something better than Electrum. But if you go way out to the edge of the far realm, that's where you can find adamantium, dragon shards, biashk, mithril, platinum, gold. Like all these things can be out there. And but you could still just get dead rocks. So it's a complete. It goes 1d12, but it only goes up to the ore only goes up to 10. So it's possible as you get really far out there that you're going to find a ton of dragon shards. And that's something that Sarlona is incredibly interested in. As you can see, Sarlona and the elves have the how far out is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Sarlona has gone out farther than any other organization, including the long-lived elves, because the Sarlona are most interested in acquiring dragon shards. So once they get past that 5 point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once they get to this point out here, this like these 6 squares here, this is all dragon shard territory, all inside here, like a high probability of getting dragon shards all throughout this area. So half of Sarlona is basically invested in hunting down, acquiring dragon shards, not to extract and break them down, because if you break them down, they become mana crystals that you can store mana energy in to power different like Spelljammer ships, magic supplies, stuff like that. But the Sarlonans, they don't want to break up the crystals. They want to combine them into resonators and purify the crystals so that they can pull in new Dalkor, the new Dreamers, so that they have more powerful leaders commanding their Star Nation. So if you're familiar with Eberron already, you know what the Dreaming is. The Inspired, sorry, not Dreamers, the Inspired. They can pull in new Inspired by harvesting and refining the crystals that exist, the dragon shards that exist out there. Anyone else down here is more than likely going to break them up into little pieces and then sell them off for parts so that they can power more mana stuff. And to Sarlonans, that's basically killing their god. So they don't take kindly to people breaking up dragon shards out there. So when you get into this 5th range orbit out here where Sarlona is and no one else is, they basically free float with patrol ships looking for, and if possible, towing in crystals back into their own territory before they fall in the hands of anybody else. And if you get your hands on a dragon shard and start mining it, you're gonna get attacked. So that's an issue that has to be dealt with. But they are also some of the most expensive resource that you get, because again, you can store mana in them, so they become magic batteries. Super useful when you're building magic equipment, like lightning wands or spell jamming ships or warforged titans and mech suits. The different stuff that they zero air fish suit, survival units for dwarves and gnomes to exist in a zero air, zero gravity environment in orbit. These are all very expensive things to build, and the dragon shards power them. So we don't really worry about the mana supply that the dragon shards have. They just become a narrative element that feeds all the tech that we have in the game. But their source is coming from these crystals. So that's the narrative background that you don't have to really worry about grounding down specifics on. It's just the background narrative of the game. So that's how that works. As each orbit, depending on where it's positioned to hub, orbit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus. So the team only has first and second order orbits, or first and second rank orbits. So they only have 1 territory in second rank orbit. So they'd roll a d6 there. So like as a DM, I'm going to roll a Vegas d6, and I got a 1. Sucks to be you, buddy. All there is iron right now. So I'm going to go back up to the... Actually, you know, I'm going to build a sideboard here. Let's just make a notepad. Team territories, current 10-day. Let's see. Let's go with team territories, current 10-day, team territories. Orbit 2, Orbit 1, Orbit 1. And they rolled a 1. Where'd you go, my little ore? Iron. There you go. And the let's just do all three of them. Territory 1 was a D6. Territory 2 is going to be a D4. I'm just going to roll 2 8-sided dice and just divide them by 2. So I got a 3, and I absolutely hate this die. I can't read it at all, so let's pick a different one. An 8. Holy shit. So I got a 3 and a 4. Holy crap, they're pulling in the cash. So iron is 1. 3 and 4, huh? Jesus, silver and electrum. Good job. Silver, electrum. We're going to go, I'm going to switch this. All right, and so on the second, let's see, how does that work? The percent is going to be between at the first in the first rank orbit. It's going to be a D6 plus 2 times 5% equals a 15 to 40% of the resources remain, and we're looking at silver in the first orbit. So I'm going to roll a D6 and then I'm going to add 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2. There we go. Let's go 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to roll, I've got 3 dice. I've got 3 Vegas dice. I'm going to roll them. I got a 1, 5, and a 4. So we're going to go 1, 5, 4. And that's going to be plus 2 and plus 5. That's a 9, plus 7, 3. So that equals 15% remains. This equals 35% remains. And this equals 45% remains. So when they make an ability check, because they're second rank in commerce, when they make an ability check, when they make an extraction check to excavate the material out of there, they're going to roll, at second rank, they're going to roll a D20 plus D6 plus 2. So I would roll a D6 because I'm second rank. So each rank goes D4, D6, D8, D10, D12. And then their rank is a bonus as well, kind of like an ability modifier. These are the proficiency bonus dice that's a variant rule in the Dungeon Master's Guide 5e, where instead of having a static plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 6 bonus as a proficiency bonus, instead it's a proficiency die that you add to the D20 plus your ability modifier. And the ability modifier, when it's a guild task being performed as a passive action, the ability modifier is equal to the rank of the industry that you've purchased or acquired for your guild. And the only commerce is second rank, so it's a D20 plus D6 plus 2. But all the other industry, the commerce is 2, but military, lore, and loyalty are all D4 plus 1. Lore is what you use to prospect, to find out what's out there. The commerce, second rank, is what you use to extract what's there. And then scouting is military, and theirs is only first rank right now. So when they're attempting to ascertain are there threats in orbit that may mess with the mining operation, that they're going to roll on this. The lore check that they make for prospecting is checking out what's on or in the asteroid that may be good or bad for the team. They're going to find out what kind of ore it is, and they're going to find out if there's a problem or not. And if they roll poorly, they won't know there's a problem there, and they're going to send their miners in blindly and get hurt. And they won't be able, if the miners are threatened by unfound risks, either in the territory or on the asteroid, you can't get any resources from that territory until the team clears the obstacle. They can either do it by passively sending their guild out to do it, because as players they're doing something more important, or they can take on the task themselves as players, and if they have characters that they love, or they could just assemble a new team by spending points to hire an appropriate rank team to go in and deal with whatever the obstacle is. If it's inside of an asteroid or on an asteroid, they're going to have a delving team that are spelunking specialists built to go into caverns, kind of like Deep Rock Galactic Survivor or Deep Rock Galactic first-person shooter game, which I discovered. One of my players was like, this feels like Deep Rock Galactic. I'm like, I've never heard of that. And now I've been checking it out. Like, if I had time to play games, I would 100% play those games because they're freaking cool. But that's what the delving teams do. And the orbital fleet deals with territory threats like free-floating monsters or pirate and poachers in the region on their own ships that are potentially attacking their mining operation or preventing them from being able to leave, or just outright steal the ore and kidnap the crew to perhaps enslave them to go work in another region. So if you aren't detecting threats, and if you don't detect a threat, then you won't get your resources because you didn't know there was a threat, and now your miners are unable to work, and you don't know why you're not getting resources. So until you fix that threat, you can't extract any resources from that territory. So it seems like they're getting a lot of access to minerals, but they don't. When you roll your extraction die, and here we're doing a d20 plus d6 plus 2. So I'm just going to roll here. I got an 18 and a 5 and 2. That's a 25. So when they excavate each of these territories, they're doing that d6 plus d20 plus d6 plus 2. And in this first one, they extracted 25. And that is a percent. So whatever they roll on their die, that is the percent of ore that they extract from the mine. So this is going to get cached. Last run. So let's go back to our table here and label these A, B, and C. There. So territory A, we got a result. Oh, that's right, other page. Thank you. So they rolled a 25, which is, and then let's look at what is the difficulty of extracting that mineral. The difficulty for extracting silver is... Silver has a DC of 10. So as long as they roll 10 or better, they're able to successfully extract the resources from it. So in this instance, if I was the player and I was rolling this, I hit a 25. So I successfully extracted the silver, and since there was only 15% of the silver left, even though, see, this is in orbit A, right? So right now it's right here, but next 10 days it's going to be in territory B. So it would move from A to B. C is going to move out. B is going to move. Everything moves one square every 10 days. So since I don't have any more territories beyond here, whatever's in B becomes unguarded. Whatever's in C becomes unguarded. A has been completely exhausted because it only had 15% of its resources left when we began. And over the next 10 days, I could extract up to 25% of resources in that territory. So that silver is completely cached. So if this was my players making these rolls, they would have gotten 2 points of resources out of that to add to their coffers. Now we would do the Electrum. There's 35% in the Electrum. That's so since they've exhausted that, that means that in Territory B, nothing's coming into zone in Territory B. So Territory B is a dead zone this next 10 day. They're not going to get any resources out of it because there's nothing flowing into that space that they can extract wealth from. They already overclocked it in Territory A. By the time it gets to Territory B, it's empty. So Territory B isn't going to get anything. But something new is going to drift in from orbit from the Arenelles area that they can now begin mining. And they'll have to do a prospecting check to see what's incoming. They're going to use basically scrying to see what's coming into territory for us. They'll be able to do that for A, and even though everything in C is leaving, they'll be able to do a prospecting check for C and pick and find out whatever type of minerals are coming into the zone, but more importantly, what threats are there. And then even though there's no wealth to be extracted from Territory B, they still have to scout it to make sure that they're defending their territory from Droam or potential poachers from other mining organizations. So they have to defend the territory even though they're not going to get any wealth out of it. As long as they're exploring, defending their own territory, it doesn't cost anything for them to roll that. But they could, if they wanted to, like patrol out here. And so if they sent a patrol out here to check out what's going on here, this is 1, 2, 3, that's 4 squares away from hub. So that's going to be 1, 4, 9, 16. It's going to cost them 16. Sorry, no, it's only 16 to purchase it. It's 1, 2, 3. It'll cost them 4 resources to send a scouting crew out to this square to see what's going on. The corporation called. They said check a grid, check coordinates on the grid. So I went and checked coordinates on the grid, and so the prospector called back and said, "Hey, if there's anything of value out here, can I keep it?" And I said, as far as I'm concerned, you can keep whatever you find out there. And that was the last they heard of them. So something went wrong. And when the team goes out there, maybe they find all of them with facehuggers on. And now you have an alien swarm that's being brought back to Hub. That if it gets back to Hub, you can kiss all this goodbye. So there's your aliens adventure. But I digress. Hey, how we doing on time over here? Let me check my... Oh, cool. I've still got 20 minutes. Okay, cool. So we're just setting up shop. So since they succeeded on the check here, it's the prospecting check that they have to be concerned about because that can trigger threats. So let's see. Yeah, we have the orbits, so we know how that's sitting. So over the course of the next adventure, and the way that I'm building it, since I only have 1 hour per week to work with the team, the way that we're the current plan is for every 3 sessions, every 3 hours, we go through one scenario, one adventure. And then on the 4th, we process all the guild activity and update what happens with the characters. So basically like leveling up, gathering and spending resources. So there you go. Hopefully they'll think that stuff is fun. But that's when they resolve and create new plots of adventure for them to then pick, so that when they come back the following week, 1, 2, 3 weeks of adventures to resolve whatever that challenge is that they decide to focus their attention on. And then the 4th week, they update what's going on with that challenge and how's the rest of the guild doing. There you go. So let's see. Until they fail a check, they don't have any obstacles to deal with. It's when they fail the check, that's when there's a threat that is detected. So like if we're in 2nd orbit here, The DC for that is, what's the DC in second orbit? Hold on. There you go. The DC in first orbit is 7. The DC in second orbit is 13. They only have a first rank military, so they would be rolling a D20 plus a D4 plus 1 to scout. So I'm just going to simulate that real quick. So I got my D4. I've got my D20, and I've got a plus 1. So I'm going to roll. Uh-oh. I got a 2 on my 20, so I'm fucked. I got a 2 on my 20. I got a 1 on my D4, so that's a 3. So I got a total of 4, which means I only got a result. I only got a result of 4, and we know let's see. Spot equals determine type of materials and present, and then risk is scale. Let's go down and look at scouting. Success equals resource. Let's see. Scouting passive. So difficulty is so the difficulty, because we have our master table of difficulties. Here, difficulty of 0 is a natural 1. Or just rolling. It's impossible for the team to roll 1 unless they have penalties. Which they could get penalties, it's possible. But under normal array, difficulty of 1 is a 4, 7, and then a difficulty of 10 is a 31. That's bounded accuracy in a nutshell for D&D. So at their second ranked territory here, scouting that area is a second rank orbit, so it is a, just going back up, extracting, scouting. Where'd it go? Gimme. Scouting. Difficulty is 2. They rolled a 4, which is a difficulty of 1. So they missed. They failed. So they not only do they not detect anything, that would create a challenge for them. So now they have a first rank complication that's out there somewhere. Oh no. Oh my god. That was in second rank orbit that we were doing that. So that was a 13 they were supposed to roll. That is difficulty of 4, and they only rolled a 1. So they just created a third rank complication for themselves, which could be, let's look at complications. Can be space monsters in orbit, pirate raiders, which could be Droam, and it could be Sarlonin. No, that wouldn't make sense, because pirates and poachers. So I want to create competing guilds. Ear Swift. Emerald. Emerald Eternal. Ear Swift. Let's see. That would be Ear Swift. In this campaign, Ear Swift is what the reunited nation of Seer. This is what they evolve into. They created a guild house called Ear Swift. They're all natural artificers, like House Cannith, right? But they splintered off of Cannith to do their own thing. So they're like a rival guild. So that's Ear Swift, Emerald Eternals. Karnathi, they use skeletons and zombies to mine, so they don't risk it. They don't need air. They don't risk anything that way. And this would be the what would this be? The Breland Mining Corporation Collective. There you go. And technically, your team is with the Moorhold, because you have dwarves, gnomes, and warforged. So you're representing Moorhold. You'll have the characters have their own subcontracted guild, just like the Ear Swifts are kind of like a subcontractor of House Cannith. We should probably actually mark that. Subcontractors of House Cannith. And I can never remember the Travelers, but we'll just call it House Cannith. And then the Breland Collective, which is Breland Privateers. And you got Pirate Raiders, which is Droam. Droam Kobolds, Gargoyles. Actually, that'd be probably on Space Monsters. Far Realm Aberrations. Undead. Abandoned Undead. Emerald Claws, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'd roll a d8. And I got a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's Droam Kobolds. Is it Droam that I'm next to? Yeah. Droam Kobolds. So a contingent of Droam Kobolds are out trying to create trouble and steal a mining operation out there. So the team will not be able to get any ore back from Zone C. This zone currently has pirates. So until the team finds a way to clear the pirates out of that territory, they can't collect any resources from it. So limited engagement there. But that is technically all I need to have built. So I can file, save as, CAF, LTA mining operation dev notes, LTA delving mission week 1. Good point. Oh, no, yeah, right. File, yeah, that's the correct course of action. File, save as. Lunchtime adventure mining campaign. That would be LTA, prospecting, and scouting. 10-day 1. So this is what they have in orbit, right? A, B, and C. So there's silver here, there's electrum here, and there's iron here. This area would be, and again, you don't know if there's pirates or poachers there or not. It depends on how high of a roll you roll on your scout. The scout is seen, the passive roll from the scout is how well have they defended your territory. And if they fail the roll, it means they did not succeed at defending the territory. It has been overrun by a threat. So they have to contend with that threat. So that's currently what we're in the process of building out here. And I have just about ran out of time for the day. Where are we at? 51 minutes? Okay. So we're almost done. But yeah, so if they succeed the die roll, the area is clear of threats. They can extract wealth from it. If they fail the prospecting check, they have no idea what's floating into orbit. There's something there, but they don't know what it is. So they would have to specifically send a prospecting team. They would have to spend a delving team there specifically to get eyes on the asteroid, specifically to be able to report back what they are. The scrying and clairvoyance of the advanced scouters is sometimes befuddled, and they don't get a clear signal. There you go. The higher the value of the metal is, the more difficult it is to have a clear sonic signal with it. The more difficult it is for you to determine what's out there. So there you go. But if they roll, like, say, a 16, right? So let's say they roll a 16 and you can't get a clear signal on what that is. That's actually great news because it's telling you it's more valuable than gold. Because gold only needs a DC 16 to find. So if you're doing a prospecting check and your DC 16 comes back with unclear results, then you know by default that it's platinum, mithril, bieshk, adamantium, or dragon shards. There's a chance it's dead rock. I think that would make sense. There'd be a chance that it'd be just dead rock, because the reason they're not getting a sense of anything is because there's nothing out there at all. So, let's see. Doing a check here. Oh, that's interesting. Like, if the material was adamantium, which is a DC 9, which is a difficulty 9 to detect, and they rolled a 16, and they didn't pick up on anything, 9 minus 5 is 4. So it could be okay. So like if it was bieshk, let's change it real quick. Instead, let's say the territory had bieshk in it, which is a DC 25, which is a difficulty of 8, and they only rolled, say, a 16, 17, or 18, which is a difficulty of 5. This is a 4th rank material that they're scouting right now. And if they rolled a 16, instead of it being bieshk, since this is 4 less, no, that's only 3. If let's make it a 13 instead, just so the math works out. So the territory could have bieshk in it. I rolled that they could have bieshk in that territory before they rolled their prospecting check, so I know what the answer is supposed to be. But if they had rolled a 13, 14, 15, and thus only got a difficulty of 4, is 4 less than the resources. So Biesh could get you 4 resources, but they rolled a difficulty 4 lower than the 8. So instead of this being Biesh or Mithril or Platinum, Gold, or whatever, because it's so far below what the material was supposed to be, when they get there, it's actually just dead rock. So they've basically just crit failed themselves by failing at a degree of difficulty equal to the potential resources they could have gained. So if they'd rolled a 16 or better, then it'll be Biesh, except they don't know it's Biesh. If they had rolled a 13 or worse, then it would just be dead rock. But they can't tell if it's Biesh or gold or whatever because their die roll wasn't high enough to detect a better level. So now they have to either risk, it's probably just dead rock, let's not bother with it. Or shit, there could be there could be platinum out there, or even adamantium. We need to go explore it. But their passive roll failed. So they could either go out there themselves to find out what's out there, and that will trigger an encounter of a difficulty 4, because that's how badly they failed. And so I could decide that it's either dead rock and there's nothing out there, or there's Mithril or Biesh. There's Biesh out there, but they have to deal with a difficulty 4 threat. And so in this instance, like say the threat is Kobold Raiders. So now they have to deal with Kobold Raiders. And if they can defeat the Kobold Raiders, they'll also have an eye on what the Biesh is. So not only have they identified, yeah, there's Biesh there, and there's Kobold Raiders. If they can get rid of the Kobolds, then they are clear to mine the Biesh. But they also have to keep the Biesh in territory long enough. It has to be in territory long enough for them to be able to extract it. So they could risk sending a mining operation there anyway. And if there's if it's dead rock, they're not going to get any resources. If there's pirates, if there's Biesh, but there's pirates, then they're going to get the resources, but they can't actually, but their mining crew is going to be threatened. So in either instance, they will not get any resources from there. Now it's just a matter of, do we need to rescue them because there were resources and we misjudged it? Or was it actually just a waste of time and we didn't gain anything? That doesn't necessarily feel good to have that be a waste of time. Yeah, I think it'll always, because we already have the die roll that determines if it's dead rock or not. So in this, so I'd want to keep it Biesh, and they failed by 4, so that means that there's a significant threat in the territory. 8 minus the result they got of 4 would be a 4, which is a difficulty of 4, complication of 4, which will probably be pirates, or since this is the prospecting stage, it would have to be pirates, or some sort of territorial threat. That's yeah. Yes, it would be Biesh, but they weren't able to identify that it's Biesh. Or if there's any threats there. And since they failed the roll, they'll be Biesh. If that's what it is, then it's Biesh. And there's some sort of a significant threat there. So yeah, they would have to send a delving team to those asteroids to explore them as characters or as a passive NPC team that they just do a die roll with, to discover what the metal is and get rid of any threats that are in the area. And then at the end of that, then they can send in their mining operation and extract the ore before it falls out of zone. There, cool. That cleaned up the action loop. I wasn't sure on the action loop there, but that is the sequence of events that would work. So if you fail the die roll, It means that there's something out there, but you don't know what it is. You can send things in blindly, but you're probably not going to get anyone back. It's dangerous. So if you can't prospect a territory, if you don't send in a delving team to prospect the area manually, then you're sending your crew into danger, and you're going to not... They may be able to extract some resources, but you won't be able to get them back until you can secure the territory. That makes sense. Cool. Hey, that's what we're doing here. Fun stuff. All right, so next week, let's see. My games are on Wednesday. So I have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we've just figured out prospecting. So that's good. And we've pretty much figured out scouting on top of it. So there's threats in prospecting and there's threats in scouting. So each territory has 2 potential threats. And if you can't pick up on the threat, if you can't discover what the prospecting is, you don't have eyes on it. So you prospect, and the difficulty of scouting the region is also based on the value of the ore that's in territory at that time. So the value of the territory is random. And so the team could be facing any threat from level 1 to 10, and they have no control over that. And the actual threat level is determined by how badly they roll. If they hit the number, there is no threat, and they can extract the resource as normal. If they miss the roll, they don't know how dangerous of a threat they're going into, and they could end up just going into a meat grinder and getting slaughtered. I think I'm okay with that. Because I can break down a level 10 threat. I can break down that threat into smaller and smaller incremental threats. Like it could be a swarm of dragons, and a couple dragons by themselves against a team of fighter pilots. That could be a difficulty 5. With awareness that if they get through this, there's more threats beyond it. That actually makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot. So I think, so we just figured out scouting. So scouting's resolved, prospecting's resolved. We still have acquisitions, and what do we have left? I think that's it. Acquisitions is the only thing we really need to suss out next time. And it's pretty easy. So I think on Monday by Monday or Tuesday, the game is on Wednesday next week. And so by Monday or Tuesday, we should have all of these initial tasks resolved for us to be able to run the game and be able to go in any direction that they want. We're going to start them off in a dungeon delve, being spelunkers delving an asteroid where a threat has cropped up, and they have to resolve the threat to be able to extract the wealth. So that's what we're going to be dealing with on Wednesday, and we'll have 3 weeks to resolve that dungeon for them to be able to get the miners out. And if it takes longer than that, we'll reevaluate. Yeah. That's it for now, guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. Saturday is my open workbench, but I'm still working on Spelljammer, Combat and Exploration, finishing the artwork there. So when I come back tomorrow morning, we will continue going through page setup for the document. And if you thought this was interesting, this is the kind of stuff that I do in my dev streams during lunchtime, and in the mornings and evenings I do artwork, and sometimes like page layouts, and sometimes development, but usually layout and artwork to build the actual supplements. So if you think some of this stuff is cool, check out some of the other things I have on stream. If you like the jive, stick around. Love to have you. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you guys in the future. Thanks a lot.